thank you for joining me. I have a special guest with me tonight on Mississippi Vibes with Bert. I'm super excited about this interview. Black excellence, black judges matter, black lawyers, the honorable, the president elect, the National Bar Association, Mr. Carlos Moore. Welcome, sir. I want to thank you once again for joining, for giving me this opportunity to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Bert. Glad to be here.
So, if you don't mind for a second, we just introduce yourself, then we'll get into the interview and proceed from there.
Okay, just a little bit about me. I'm in Grenada, Mississippi now. I've been here for the past 19 years. I'm originally from Moss Point, Mississippi, where I graduated high school in 1995. I left there and went to the University of South Alabama, where I got my degree in political science in 1999, and I received my Juris Doctorate from the Florida State University School of Law in 2002. I also did 1 year at the University of Mississippi School of Law, and I've been practicing in Grenada for the past 19 years. I'm married to the former Natalie Harrington, and we have one daughter, Avery Nicole. And I'm the managing partner of the Cochran firm, Mississippi Delta, and I also serve as a municipal judge pro tem in both Clarksdale, Mississippi, and Grenada, Mississippi. And wow. I was just recently elected president-elect of the National Bar Association. I will be sworn in as president in July of 2021, so July of next year in Memphis.
Wow. So let's stay right there a second. How was that move for you when you decided to put my name in the hat? And for the list of honors and awards that you have obtained throughout your career, I mean, it's wow, it would take about 2 shows for me to get through all of them. But what was your mindset when you was thinking, when you was, praying over this opportunity that, hey, I'm finna put my name in the hat dealing with the Mississippi, the National Bar Association?
Well, I started, attended the National Bar Association's convention in 2000. I went to my first convention in 2000 as a first-year law student. And I was just overwhelmed and amazed to see so many successful Black lawyers and Black judges from across the country. And I knew I had found a home for me. And at my very first convention, I decided at that point that one day I would seek to become president of the National Bar Association. I did my research and I found out that there had never been a president of the National Bar Association from Mississippi. And I'm always one about representation. I was like, well, it's about time they get one from Mississippi, and I'm going to strive to get us on the map and to be that first one. And so I'm happy that I'll be the 79th president as of next year in July. And after 96 years of the organization being in existence, we will finally have a president from Mississippi. And so I'm happy to represent.
Wow. Yes, sir. So what was becoming an attorney your first career choice, or what was your first career choice?
The first career that I selected for myself was an attorney. Back, I can remember watching Perry Mason and Matlock and LA Law as a child, and I told my parents I wanted to be an attorney. That's the first thing I ever said I wanted to become. I was kind of discouraged from by my parents from becoming an attorney originally. I was brought up in a very religious household, and they told me that attorneys had to lie, and maybe I should find something else to do with my life. And so I knew I wanted to be successful and make a mark on society, so I decided I would become a doctor. Or they just raved about that, thought I had made a great decision in becoming a physician. And so I set off to start, set my sights on becoming a physician, an orthopedic surgeon. But originally law was my first love. And after I got to college, I tried the pre-med route. I did that for 2 or 3 years. But eventually my passion could not subside. I changed my major from biomedical sciences pre-law to political science, from biomedical sciences pre-med to political science pre-law. And I decided to take the law school admission test instead of the medical college admission test. And I was admitted to each of the 4 law schools I applied to. I got a fellowship or a scholarship to attend the Florida State University College of Law. So I went there, and the rest is history. So law was always my first love.
Man, thank you for that. When you're the manager and partner of Cochran Farm, you presided over that. you become a judge. When it comes to choosing a team, you have your chief of staff, your chief of communication. What is the key to make sure your team works together well and represent Mr. Moore, to the top level? What goes through your process of when you deciding on a team?
When you're deciding on a team, who to put on a team, or how to build a team, try to find people that you can work well with, people that have similar ideology, people that have a hard work ethic, people that have proven themselves in other situations. And so for my office, I've tried to bring people on board that have a track record of success, a track record of working hard, either in academia where they went to college and they worked hard, or they have worked hard in other jobs and had a good track record. And I've decided to bring them on my team to work on behalf of the clients that we serve with the Cochran firm. And before that, I had my own firm, the Moore Law Group, and we worked well together. We merged with the Cochran firm in January of last year. And so that's what I've done, just try to find people that have a similar background or a similar work ethic, and people that's willing to learn and work hard, and that our personalities gel, because a lot of times it's all about personality, and it's all about grit and grind. And so we get in here and we fight hard day in and day out for our clients. The same thing, building my team for my upcoming presidency. I'm getting the best of the best from across the country, people that want to work, people that have been loyal. Some I've known for years, for the past 20 years, some are more recent, but it's people that I think I can trust based on our relationships that we've built, or that recently, or over a span of time.
Okay. So why do you think it's important for Black lawyers to be in existence?
Black lawyers matter because Black lives matter. Black judges matter because Black lives matter. It is very hard for our people to believe they will get a fair shake at justice if they never see anyone in the justice system that looks like them. And so that is one reason I'm happy to be a relatively young Black man practicing law, and also sits as a part-time judge, because it's important for people to see us in that sphere. I mean, most Black boys growing up, they know they can become an entertainer, they can become an athlete, but many don't know that you can have just a successful life being a lawyer or a judge, and that's possible for us to achieve some of these spaces as well. And so, especially in the criminal justice system, I mean, the system is set up against us, is what we have been taught, and it looks like it really is set up against us for a large part. But when you see someone that looks like you do believe that you'll get a fair shake at justice. And so I'm happy to be the first African American municipal judge pro tem, municipal judge of any type in Grenada, and the first African American municipal judge pro tem in Clarksdale.
Yes. So we're going to stay right there. When you became the first city judge in Grenada, what was your thought on, your first day? I remember seeing the picture your first day. You can see just the joy, the excitement in your eyes, and it was in your soul about it. What was your thoughts when you woke up that morning and you was taking that ride as becoming, the first Black judge?
Well, Grenada's been around 200 years, so it's been a long time coming, and I believe it's been my African Americans have been the majority for at least the past 20 years. And so, but yet and still, it's taken this long to get an African American judge on the city bench in Grenada. And so I was just thankful to God that he chose me through the city council people to be the person to be the first. And hopefully I won't be the last, but I'm going to try to set an example to let everyone know that we can judge just as well as anyone else in this city. And with Grenada being majority African American, it's about time the leadership on the bench reflects that.
What's the most difficult case you presided over?
I don't. All cases are different. I don't know that anyone is any more particular difficult than the other. The most difficult cases are the ones where you have two sets of facts. You have people swearing to different sets of scenarios, and someone has to be lying when they're polar opposite. And so you have to. I always pray for the wisdom of Solomon, because when you got two sets of people, they're swearing to tell the truth and they're telling different stories, and you were not there, you just have to use your God-given sense
Right.
and wisdom and pray that you're making the right decision. So those are the most difficult when you have situations like that. And it's also difficult where situations where you believe a citizen, and then you also have a cop that's sworn to protect and serve, saying something different than what the citizen says, and sometimes that's a very difficult situation. And so, but I just use my God-given common sense and try to do the best I can, and I apply the law to the situation. And it's a, who can convince me beyond a reasonable doubt, and that's what I go with.
So, what are your thoughts on the murders that have occurred between, police officer and, the blacks in this country? What's if you want to speak a little bit on the Breonna case, we can talk about the George Floyd. Just when when the news hit and it's keep coming up, and I seen you had a civil rights case back in the days that you had to represent a family over. What's your thought? As an attorney, judge, and just as a man, period, African American man.
Yeah, from what I know, the George Floyd case and the Breonna Taylor case, there was no justification for any of those, either of those deaths. George Floyd should be alive today. This man was not resisting arrest. He was in handcuffs. He had his life snuffed, taken from him. 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Somebody had their knee on his neck and his back, on his back, and would not let the man breathe. He begged to breathe. He told them he couldn't breathe, and the cops had no mercy on him. And so I'm happy that they have been indicted for the crimes for which they did, we believe they committed. And I'm hoping that they will be found guilty, because that clearly was uncalled for. It was murder, plain and simple. And it just seems that no matter that the cops knew they were being recorded, they would not relent. They just felt they could get away with murder. And thankfully they've been indicted, but it took a long time for them to be indicted for that man's murder. And so that's sad in of itself. And with Breonna Taylor, the bad thing about her is she was in her own home. These people lied to get the no knock warrant, and then no one is going to be held accountable for her death, for her murder. I mean, that is a sad state of affairs. And so we're glad that the grand jury proceedings have been released, and we're hoping that something about some way, somehow, that another grand jury will hear the case, and that they will hold those officers responsible for her murder. Because just like black guys' lives matter, black women's lives matter. And I'm a father of a daughter, and I cannot imagine someone busted in her home in the middle of the night and taking her life, an innocent young black woman.
So, what would be the process of the retrying of the case, being able to recharge? What are they looking for in the release of the tapes to possibility of bringing murder charges against the one officer who fired the shots, or multiple officers that was there at the scene?
Proverbial wisdom tells us that you can indict a ham sandwich. If a prosecutor wants an indictment, a prosecutor 9 times out of 10 is going to get an indictment. It's evident that this prosecutor in Kentucky did not want an indictment for murder of Breonna Taylor. He did not even ask or give the grand jurors, from what I've heard, the opportunity to indict any of the cops for murder or manslaughter of Breonna Taylor. And so, since they were not given a choice, that's why they did not get the indictments. You have to ask for something that you desire and put it before them and give them a choice. What people don't realize is you can present cases, as many cases as you need to the grand jury. Double jeopardy only attaches at a petit jury or a criminal trial where you acquitted. But grand juries, when there's evidence that comes out, or more evidence that comes out, you can put it to another grand jury. So there's nothing stopping another grand jury from reviewing the evidence. And the evidence needs to be properly presented. And I'm hoping that if the evidence is properly presented, that the state grand jury will indict those officers. And then I understand the feds are looking at the case too, so there could be criminal charges presented to a federal grand jury, and there may be some federal prosecution as well.
You ever heard of a juror making the move that he or she made to get this case, get the tapes released, and the way that it's going now?
I have not. And so that tells me that something is very much amiss in Kentucky, that a juror or a grand juror had to take that awesome step, that unusual step of going to court to sue to have the proceedings released to the public. Because normally grand jury proceedings are private, but this grand juror had standing evidently to do what she did and to ask for the proceedings to be released, and the judge granted the request. And so I'm happy that the case is getting the light of day, because sunshine breeds transparency. Transparency breeds trust. And usually when you shine a light of day on something, people will act right. They know that there's secrecy and people don't know what they're doing, they're likely to try to get away literally with murder.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna touch on this for a second. Outstanding Alumni Award, Regional Black Law Student Association, Top 100 Trials Lawyer, Esquire Award, Trailblazer Under 40 Award, Presidential Fred D. Gray Legacy Award, Attorney of the Month, Attorney at Law Magazine, you was on the cover. You Young Lawyer of the Year, Association Lawyer Division, White House Fellow Region Finalist, Rising Star, Outstanding Youth Lawyer, Young Lawyer of Mississippi. What keeps you each year? You're attaining these different accolades, and they recognizing your work. What keeps you humble? What keeps you what keeps driving you? Because a lot of people, when they get to beating their chest, they forget. What keeps you humble? What keeps you driven?
I think what keeps me humble is the fact that I know that all of my help comes from God. I know without Him, I could do anything. I could not do anything. And so, just like it's been God to bless me, I know that if I got too haughty or too arrogant, that God could bring me down. And so I've humbled myself and tried to just give all praise and glory to God, because none of this was predicted. I could not have written my own story, but God has blessed me. My parents raised me in the church, and I've tried to follow their teachers as an adult and trying to raise my daughter in the same faith. But having faith in God and put my trust in Him and getting up every day, believing first in God and myself, I believe that all things are possible for those of us that believe.
Right. Hey, I want to thank y'all for joining again. I have the judge, Carlos Moore, the president-elect, the first African-American judge in Grenada. Thank y'all for joining Mississippi Vibes with Bert. So let's jump back into, we're going to switch it up with the arrival, Deion Sanders, coming to Jackson State. What do you feel, what does that do for the HBCU community as a whole? How will it spread around? Will it help change the landscape of our fellow, young kings and queens, getting back into the swag? And how is that movement going to be? What's your thought on that process?
Yeah, I think having prime time coaching at Jackson State, I think it changes the playing field. It puts Jackson State and other HBCUs on par with some of the D1 schools at Ole Miss, Mississippi State. You see some of the Mississippi State athletes have already decided to transfer to Jackson State. And so we have to support our own. And so now that we're supporting our own, I'm understanding that Deion Sanders' son is getting a good look at Jackson State. Maybe getting an offer from Jackson State to come play ball there. So it's a game changer. A lot of guys will be happy to come play for Deion, Coach Prime as he's called. And I think if we do that more across the country, that puts HBCUs on par with some of these C1 schools. And they know that playing for Prime, they could go to the pros just as well as
Can we eventually get
go to pros from one of Ole Miss or Mississippi State. And so we need that. Yeah.
I apologize for cutting you. Can we eventually get it back to when, in the early 90s and the late 80s when, the SWAC was the thing before the big money and sponsorships got involved, and will he be able to bring that back? Will he be able to attract more players of his stature to other schools? What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think you're gonna get other former athletes, professional athletes, to start coaching at some of these HBCUs, and I think you're gonna have more outstanding talent going to HBCUs. I think you're gonna have more Walter Paytons produced and Steve McNair's produced, just as we had back in the heyday of HBCUs. The SWAC was the conference to be in, and I believe we're gonna produce more Walter Paytons and Steve McNair's in the not too distant future because of this move.
What's your, we don't have to say the names. How important is voting for November the 3rd? What's up with November the 3rd for our people?
Yeah, I think voting is almost sacrosanct. It is so important. There are too many people that die for us to have the right to vote, to exercise the uh, that right. And so I believe that John Lewis, who's now gone, he had his skull fractured and cracked, trying to secure the unfettered right to vote. And so, no matter what side of the aisle we may be on or who we choose to vote for, the main thing is to get out there and exercise your right to vote. That is the most powerful uh, uh, weapon that we have in this country is the vote. And so, I will be at the poll on November the 3rd if I don't vote absentee ahead of time. There are certain people that can vote absentee under the law if you meet certain qualifications. And so I may take advantage of that if I happen to meet one of those qualifications. Otherwise, I will go to the poll on November the 3rd and I'll use my PPE and do it and stay socially distanced. But I'm going to exercise the right to vote because too many died and fought and shed innocent blood for us to have that right. And so if we want to have a voice in this country, that's the way we exercise our voice. That's by voting.
So with the Voters' Right Act, that like you say, our people had died for, way back. What is how are our rights being violated by different governors who put the different stipulations? For example, if your current address don't match up with what's on your driver license. What is these different pitfalls that are being put in place? Georgia tried it, North Carolina. How is any rights being violated with these, you know, new stipulations they putting in, or what's the legal take on that?
Yeah, I very much so think that election suppression is real, voter suppression is real, and these certain governors across the country are trying to intentionally discourage certain people from voting. And while we don't have poll taxes per se anymore, some of the things that they're doing is just like the poll taxes. It's just like the ungodly test they used to have: how many bubbles are in a jar of soap, how many jelly beans are in a jar before you could vote. I mean, they're not doing that anymore, but they're being smarter and using other tactics. They are limiting voting places. They're closing voting places. They're purging voter rolls without telling anybody. They're requiring exact signature matches. Some people change their signature over time. They are just becoming very, very specific. They're trying to have voter intimidation at the polls. I mean, folks are being told to stand back and stand by and to watch the polls vehemently. I mean, people are being told that this could be a very dangerous election. There may be some trouble at the polls. And so this is reminiscent of the 50s and the 60s. I mean, people were threatened with their livelihoods. They were threatened with jobs. They were threatened with physical violence if they tried to exercise their right to vote. But I'm here to make everyone know that this is a different generation. We are going to vote on November the 3rd. Come hell or high water, you will not keep us away from the polls. And I was reading something the other day that blacks are buying guns in droves these days. We are not going to sit at home and be afraid and not go vote. We will go vote. And we will exercise our God-given rights. The Second Amendment applies to black folks in this country just like it applies to everyone else.
When you heard stand by, stand down, stand by, what went through your mind at that moment?
Stand back and stand by. I mean, some people say it was a dog whistle, but I think it was a bullhorn. The message was made and it was announced loud and clear. The people for which the message was made, they heard it and they rejoiced. The Proud Boys rejoiced proudly when they heard the message. And so they are planning to stand by stand back and stand by. And but I don't believe they're going to stop anything. No one is scared of these folks, and people are going to go vote. And so people can give as good as they get. And so if they want to battle to vote, that's what they're going to get. But people are not going to sit home and be afraid of anyone.
Did you ever think we'll be back in the times that our, for some of us, our parents and grandparents and ancestors went through? Did you ever imagine coming up as a young African American man did you imagine we'll be back or we'll be trying to be thrust back to what, our grandparents went through?
It's really surreal. We thought we had arrived. We thought we had a post-racial society once we elected Barack Obama as the first Black president of this country. But I believe it awakened a new generation of racists or white supremacists. They could not believe that this country finally gave a Black man the most powerful position in the world, and they are intent on it not happening again. They are trying to put us back in place, but our place is at the top. It's in front. It's at the #1 spot. I refuse to go to anyone's back seat or back of the bus. My place is always and will always be at the front of the line, and I will not let anyone send me to the back. And so my first day on the bench in Clarksdale, I had the state flag removed in 2017 from my courtroom because it bore the Confederate flag. When I'm in power, and I have the authority to do things that benefit society and benefit African Americans and everyone else, I do it. I have a backbone. I'm not afraid of a man in shoe leather. If you put on your pants just like I do, and you put on shoes just like I do, I'm not afraid of you. And so I was not afraid to sue the governor. People tried to tell me that certain things would happen if I sued the governor over that state flag in 2016, but I was bound and determined that I would take a stand and let my voice be heard. And I took it all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court because I felt that flag had to come down sooner than later. I felt it was unjust. I felt that it made us second-class citizens in Mississippi. And as I told you, I'm nobody's second. I'm always going to seek to be first.
Right. That was a no-brainer for you that you was go sue the governor, and there was no second thoughts about it.
No second thoughts. People, my wife, my mother, others told me not to do it. It was too dangerous, that I'd probably get death threats. I really didn't believe I would get them in the 21st century. Within 2 days of me filing a lawsuit, I started getting death threats. But I do know I serve a God, and God put it on my heart to do what I did. I knew He was able to protect me. And 4 or 5 years later, here I am. 8 death threats later, here I am, still alive and well. God has protected me and will continue to protect me because if He's for you, He's more than the world against you.
Amen. Wow. Oh, so I was, I like to do my research a little bit so I can be prepared somewhat when I talk to people. Mississippi Civil Rights Museum, rest his soul, good trouble. Congressman John Lewis, Senator Booker, Congressman Thompson. We had the president of NAACP, Mr. Johnson, Representative Sonia Williams Burns. Other great leaders were there. You and your wife was there. What was that night? Can you take us into the to that night, that celebration? Y'all was walking through the museum, you and Mr. Lewis. What was that whole weekend, or however long the event went on? How can you take us? Give us some insight on that.
Gladly. That was in February of 2018. And so that was the last time I had the pleasure of being in the presence of the great icon, Congressman John Lewis. It was a wonderful 2 days, a Friday and a Saturday, February the 23rd and 24th of 2018. President Trump had come at the invitation of Governor Bryant to the official opening of the museum. And President Trump's track record on race relations was not good, and so a lot of the African Americans in the state stayed away from that official grand opening. But we are not one to let anyone rain on our parade. We decided we would throw our own alternative grand opening and invite people that had a track record of doing right by African Americans, people that fought for African Americans to have the success and the victories that we have. And so we invited John Lewis, Congressman Lewis, to come and receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. We invited Congressman Benny Thompson to get the Chairman's Award. We asked Senator Cory Booker to come be a keynote speaker on that Saturday. We invited the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Senator Richmond, the then chair, and others to come be with us and help us celebrate in a grand fashion. And originally, we were going to hold the reception of the banquet at the Civil Rights Museum, and it could only hold 250 to 300 people. We had twice that many people. We had 600 folks to sell out at the downtown convention center in the ballroom, the biggest ballroom we could find. And so we had a grand occasion. People were happy, just elated to see Congressman Lewis. He had spent 40 days in jail in Parchman, the notorious prison here in Mississippi back in the 60s, early 60s, fighting for our right to vote. And so to come back and welcome him and receive him and honor him for what he did so we could be in the positions that we are in today, I will never forget the day, and I will never forget that Saturday to being with him and walking down memory lane and hear him
Take your
say,
time,
we
brother.
almost didn't make it through. I mean, this man went down memory lane. I walked behind him and with him to see him relive the horrendous things that he had gone through for our freedom. And I'll never forget those moments. Those were special moments that I will share with my child and eventually my grandchildren. And I'm appreciative that we had that time with the congressman.
Thank you for that. What when you think of Mr. Lewis, what makes you choke up like that? What's going through your mind right now?
I could feel the spirit of the ancestors, those that had gone on before John Lewis. I mean, he was one of the last living legends, and to go down memory lane with him at that Civil Rights Museum, it was a very special moment. And just to hear his words, to see the tears flow down his eyes, to see him actually relive those horrific moments. I mean, it's in the history books, it's history to us, but it was real life to him. I mean, he did not know time in and time out, time and time again, if he would make it through. He never really expected to live to be in his 80s. All the hate and everything he experienced, I mean, it was not guaranteed that he would make it to be in his 80s. And so he could have been a martyr like Dr. King and so many others. But God saw fit to have him here so that he could pass on the legacy to us, pass on the baton, and to tell us, don't be afraid to get in good trouble. And so make some noise. People are going to be upset, but you make some noise, and that's the only way you advance in this country and get true equality and equity is to fight and make some noise, because otherwise people will continue to trample upon you. They will put their knee literally on your neck and snuff out your life. But it's up to us, the ones of us that's left here, the ones of us had the privilege of knowing Congressman Lewis, to take the baton and run with it and fight like hell for freedom until victory is won.
How do we keep gathering our people together so we can be on one accord? We can be to continue to become stronger as a unit and not be so anything that divide us. We're so easy. We're so divisive. What's your suggestion to pull us together to make sure that we protect, you know, people, men as yourself and our women, to that, death threats mean nothing to us when we go keep pushing forward and make sure that we standing strong with people like Mr. Moore. Comes to mind the former chief of Starkville, Mr. Frank Nichols. What do we do to make sure that y'all are protected so y'all can continue to run this race with the sense of security? I know.
Yeah, I think it's incumbent upon us to take the threats, take them at face value. I mean, we report all the threats, we take proper precautions, we arm ourselves, we have armed security, armed guards that travel with us and that look after us. We have to do all of that, all of us in the civil rights sphere. I think we have to do that in these days and times. And likewise, we encourage citizens to exercise their Second Amendment rights, to be ready for to do battle. We have to. You have a right to defend our lives, and we have a right to defend our property. A lot of us are very religious, but we should not be fools. You have to protect your families, and so whether you're a man at the head of your family or a woman, you do what you need to do to protect your family, your property. Your castle is your home. You protect it at all costs. within the ambits of the law. And so if someone has the audacity to come on your property, you have the audacity to do what you need to do to get them off of it, just and to spare your life. And so it's sad that it's getting to this, but no one is just going to lay. Christ laid down his life. He gave up his life for his friends, but we are not Christ, and we don't have to give up our lives for anybody. We need to fight to protect what's ours and protect our lives and our family lives. And so it's a different day. No one is going back to the days of slavery. We're not going back to the days of Jim Crow. If you bring a fight to us, a fight is what you're going to get.
Yeah, that's before we get out of here, we're gonna lighten the mood up. I want to once again, this Mississippi Vibe was birthed. I have the Mr. Carlos Moore with me, President-elect, National Bar Association, Judge. Great interview, brother. I appreciate your time again. I appreciate you even accepting this invitation from me to sit down. So, who the better cook, you or your wife?
Oh, that's easy. My wife. No one
All
wants
right.
my cooking. If they want to live, they better eat my wife's cooking. She is the cook, and she's the reason that I've put on some pounds since we got married over the last 20 years. So she's a great cook and an awesome wife.
What's Black excellence to you? What that means to you?
Black excellence, I believe, is showing out, showing up and showing out in whatever field we choose to be in. When given an equal chance at life in society, we have shown that we can excel in anything. I mean, golf was long considered to be a sport for other people, not Black people. But you see who excelled and went to the top. Tiger Woods went to the top of golf. Tennis, Arthur Ashe went to the top of tennis. Baseball, you got Jackie Robinson. When people got rid of the racism and the racial barriers, we have gone to the top of everything. When we're given an equal opportunity, we went to the White House. It's called the White House. It could have easily been called the Black House for 8 years because a Black man sat and ran not only the country, but the world. And so when we're given an equal shot, no matter what kind of head start others have had, we will catch up and we will go to the very front of the line. We cannot be stopped. Serena Williams in tennis represent the ladies. I mean, whatever it is, if we are given an equal shot and equal opportunity, Black folks will rise above it all and rise to the top. And so that's Black excellence. It took 200 years to get a Black judge in Grenada, but we got one now. And because we got one now, we will have one in the future.
What's Black love to you?
Black love, that is something beautiful. And it looks different ways for different people. I decided to marry a brown-skinned woman, similar to Obama. A lot of brothers, when they become successful, they think they have to go marry the lightest thing out there, or get them so light and bright that they're almost white. And some of us do cross over and get a white or Hispanic. But I decided, for me, it was best that they tell us well, I just decided to marry what I love, the beautiful brown skinned woman, and that's what I married. So Black is beautiful, and whatever shade they come. So that's Black love.
Who is Carlos Moore?
Carlos Moore is a very complicated individual. You either love me or you hate me. It's not much in between. I'm going to tell you exactly what's on my mind. I don't bite my teeth. I don't parse my words. What you see is what you get. I'm real as they come. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. If you want to know the truth, ask me. If you don't want to know, don't ask me. Because I'm going to tell you God's given gospel truth. It may be a hard pill to swallow, but it's going to be what I consider to be the truth. It's not going to be an alternative fact. I'm going to give it to you straight with no chaser. So if you want it, the gospel truth, come ask me and I'll give it to you.
Any last remarks before we head out?
Yeah, 2020 has been an amazing year. It's been a difficult year. There's been some highs and there have been some lows. But I believe whatever state we find ourselves in, we have to be content. We have to make lemonade out of lemons. And so it's dealt us some blows, but it's an awesome opportunity to reset, to consider what's important in life. A lot of times we've gotten so busy working and doing things. We forgot about family, but the pandemic has made us focus more on family time, and remember what's important, because at the end of the day, only what we do for Christ will last. Only what we do for our family will mostly be important. It's no matter how many cases I win, at the end of the day, if I haven't taken time with my wife and my daughter, it's all for naught. And so I'm appreciative of the chance to reset the button and focus on what's important in life. I mean, the cases will be there, the clients will be there, but family time, family over everything. And so I'm appreciative of this opportunity that I've had to just spend some downtime with my family and reconnect and reinvigorate and get ready for what lies ahead. I mean, 21 and the rest of the 20s lie ahead of us, and I think it's going to be some amazing times. And so we just have to take advantage of 2020, this little downtime that we've had, and I believe that we will survive this pandemic. We have to be smarter going forward and listen to the science, listen to the experts, and we'll be fine.
So you say your day is July the 2nd? I don't want to get your date wrong to be for your say that again.
It's actually going to be July 29th. July 29th in Memphis of 2021 will be sworn as president of the National Bar Association. So I'm looking forward to that. Right now, we are happy to support the current president, C.K. Hoffler, out of Atlanta. She's doing a great job, and we are supporting her agenda and her vision for the association. And then on the 29th of July, I will announce my vision for the association, and we'll go full speed ahead for 365 days, crisscrossing this country, fighting on behalf of the least of these. And so we're going to fight across the country. We also have some plans to go to Africa, the motherland, as well as Europe and some other places to fight and speak with people across the African sport.
Wow. Once again, thank you, brother. I know my brother, he will be happy to see this interview when it come up on y'all frat brothers, Eric Pagas, Pete Perkins, David Hudson, my brother Johnny Bailey, Casey Fox, and so many. Seems like y'all everywhere, but y'all, go. Y'all smooth like that. Yeah, so I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the opportunity again. Mississippi Vibes with Bert, Judge Carlos Moore. Next year, National Bar Association, the man in charge. Once again, I thank you, and pray for you and your family, and be safe, brother.
Thanks, Bert. Hopefully you can join us in Memphis on the 29th of July. We'd love to have you as our special guest.
I'll be there.
Okay.
I'll be
Sound
there.
good.
Me and my family will be there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right.